longtime protector of Tom Brady and a longtime New England Patriot, a multiple Super Bowl champion. And he is now on to talk about his wonderful foundation, the Light Foundation, and also announce his return to the game to play with Gronk and Brady in Tampa, because that's what everybody does. Matt Light. How are you, Matt?
Hey, I'm not as good as I once was, but I may be as good once as I ever was, Rich.
Wow. Matt, did you get that in a fortune cookie, man? That sounds like...
I got that from a guy named Toby Keith.
Oh, jeez. I could just...
Come on now, you don't listen to country every day when you wake up and you're starting, a beautiful morning, a little bit of good old boy and, picking and grinning.
Oh, yes. That's exactly how I fare, Matthew. How have you been, man? How's everything?
Buddy, I'm doing great. A little strange here in New England, in this post-Brady era. And, of course, the pandemic and everything else has to hit at the same time. We're pretty sure he caused that when he left here.
Right.
But, yeah, strange times, but we're doing well.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. So let's get into this real quick. Your foundation, the Light Foundation. I'll give you the floor on what people and how they can get involved before we get strolling down memory lane together here.
Well, listen, I appreciate it. This is a big time, and a lot of nonprofits are struggling right now. During this pandemic, but we figured with all the excitement and Brady heading down to Tampa and taking Gronk with him, that people would want to go down there and see a game in Tampa featuring not just Brady, but also Drew Brees, who, was my quarterback at Purdue and an unbelievable guy. So this raffle that we have at GameDayTampa.com, if people go to GameDayTampa.com and they love football and they want the opportunity to meet Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Rob Gronkowski, GameDayTampa.com is how you do it. You can buy your raffle tickets, as many as you want, for as little as $10. You get 10 tries, and all the proceeds are going to go to the Light Foundation. And if you win, you're coming to Tampa, all expense paid trip, hotel, airfare, the whole nine. Mike Allstott, good buddy of mine, another Purdue guy, he'll be there hosting the winners as well. We get the field passes, and, it's just one of those things. If you love football, this is the ultimate. No
question about it, man. And that's why, the NFL didn't wait very long. Schedule release, putting Brady's first game as a Buccaneer in Brees' house in New Orleans. And obviously, how special a building that is for Tom and the Patriots, having been the spot where, the first went down for that Super Bowl. But let's go hit the Wayback Machine. Let's start with Brees first. So were you in the same class together in Purdue? Were you the same year with him?
Yeah, he came in the year after me.
Okay.
I actually got to Purdue, and Joe Tiller thought it'd be a great idea to, put me at tight end. I did play a little bit of tight end in high school, but those days quickly left me after my true freshman year at Purdue. I had hurt my shoulder in a training camp that followed that season, and I swallowed a couch basically and took a year off. And so by the time I came back as a left tackle, at a very svelte 270, Drew Brees stepped in, took over, the quarterback position, and man, we had some incredible years.
So did you know how special this guy could be from jump, Matt? Or was it something where you watched him, begin to blossom? What was it like back in that day with him?
It's interesting. He gets there, and it's a guy that people talked about as, he would have been a big recruit. He's from this, incredible Texas town, and, his grandfather is a coaching legend, but he's just not big enough. And that was the knock on Drew his entire career, even coming into the NFL. He's a great quarterback, but he's not big enough. But when he got there, it was very clear from day one that, this guy was special. I mean, his ability to, his accuracy. And to this day, Coach Belichick, when we'd be in meetings, he'd tell the defensive backs, he's like, look, you can be all over his receivers, but Drew Brees is going to put the ball where only his guy can catch it, and he's going to do it that way every time. So, he's been a special player since he started throwing that rock around.
So, and then you get drafted by New England, second round, 2001 draft, and man, you're thrown straight into it, right? I mean, correct?
Right into the fire, man. Bill tried me in camp on the right side and put me a right tackle, and it was atrocious. So he didn't have a whole lot of options. We had a lot of injuries, so he put me back on the left and ended up starting the season at left tackle. And man, it was a heck of a learning experience. 0-1 and all the chaos of 9/11 and the season we had.
Oh my gosh!
Playoffs. Yeah, it was wild.
I guess so. So let's get to the moment. Were you in the huddle when Brady came running in that day with Mo Lewis?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can still hear the hit that Mo Lewis put on Drew Bledsoe, and it was on our sideline. We were at home in Gillette Stadium, the old Foxborough Stadium, actually. Let's back that up a little. Where we had rats run across our feet in meetings almost daily, Rich. I don't know if you remember those days. I mean, you spent a lot of time in Foxborough over the years.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Old Foxborough Stadium was worse than a lot of the high schools in Ohio, and so that's not saying a whole lot.
No, it is. Oh my gosh. So Bledsoe goes out, Matt Light, and then you're in the huddle, and Tom Brady enters. What was it like in that huddle when Tom got in there and you knew that Bledsoe was hurt to the point where you heard the hit on the field?
Yeah, it was interesting. I think at the time it was just like, okay, well, the next man up. You know, it was like, okay, we're moving on, and this is going to be awkward. I mean, Drew Bledsoe, the year before, had signed a 10-year, $100 million contract. Here's the number one player on our team by far is out of the lineup. Now, we didn't understand that his hit was as severe as what it ended up being, but Tommy steps in, and you know what? He's calling the plays. Everything's fluid. Everything's, seemingly right as rain, and it's not like we ended up winning that game, but he came in and performed really well, but no one had the idea in their mind that this was the guy.
Nobody did they? Not at all, huh? I mean, but the story goes, Matt, in training camp, Tom looked the part, and everybody kind of figured that he was ready to go by the time that he got the shot. Was that a prevailing thought at the time? Again, I know you were just a rookie, but was that a thought at the time?
I don't know. I don't know that it was. I mean, Michael Bishop, was there, and he was really the guy that was looked to as the number 2 guy during training camp. We lost Dick Rabine, who was our quarterback coach at the time. He died of a heart attack in training camp that year.
Jeez.
And, I think that, it was a wild year. I think that actually probably opened the door for, Tommy and the coaching staff to reevaluate and do things. But I'm not really that sure that they felt like they had a clear winner in Tommy until probably about the Washington game that year, 2 or 3 games into it.
So what was it about that game, Matt?
Well, it was being on the road, tough environment. It tested us in a lot of ways. And again, we didn't win that game, but we fought back. We had a chance to win it right at the end. And it told us a lot about, what we had in Brady and what we had in our offense. And, I think that game was a big turning point in that season for us.
3-time Super Bowl champ Matt Light here on the Rich Eisen Show, strolling down memory lane as he announced today a raffle for the Light Foundation to go hang in Tampa with Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. And the day that you do it is when the Saints come in, and the quarterback he protected in college, Drew Brees, will be available for you to meet and hang out with. It's, again, enter at GameDayTampa.com to win that raffle. Matt Light here on the Rich Eisen Show. Matt, we were having to talk the other day about which Last Dance-like documentary we'd love to see about a long-standing period that we can, reminisce about, run up, tell the story to the Last Dance between in a dynastic run. And the Patriots are the one that won that at least would be the one that I would love to see. Do you think that would ever happen on planet Earth, Matt Light?
No, you're asking me, do I think it's over?
No. Do you think we could ever have a Last Dance type documentary that the people who were involved in it would sit down and tell all in the same way that we're seeing Jordan and the Bills tell all for the Patriots?
Oh, yeah. Come on now. I didn't think you would ever ask me that question. You know, you'll never get anything that you don't need to know, and you don't need to know anything coming out of that world. Yeah, it's pretty tight-lipped in there, and you know, I think Bill's done, you know, a really amazing job when I think about it over the years with the different people that he's had in the locker room, and how well he's been able to keep things quiet. I mean, he likes to have it that way, and I think it serves the team best. But no, I don't think you'll ever get that opportunity, Rich. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know, Matt. I mean, let's just put it this way. You know, if you asked Jordan that question, you know, just as they were breaking up in '98, or anybody involved with the Bulls, you'd say never, not a chance. And 20 years later, we're seeing all this footage because Jordan finally agreed to let this happen. Because I guess there's some part of him that wanted to tell the story. And we're seeing, you know, Belichick did the NFL 100 all-time team show as an analyst, maybe. And we're seeing Tom take to Instagram right now to refute stories to make sure that the record's set straight. Maybe people want the record, you know, out there and set things straight one day.
Oh, it's possible. It's possible. And look, I think that, you know, when you saw Nick Saban and Coach Belichick during that HBO special.
That's right.
I think that kind of told you a little bit more, and you got to see a little bit more of a glimpse behind the curtain. But, you know, maybe there will be a day where Coach Belichick wants to sit down and he wants to talk about these moments, you know, in a little bit more detail, because he is a historian. I mean, when it comes to military maneuvers and battles and things that go back in the history of this country as it relates to the military, he's really into that kind of stuff. And it's no different whether it's the military stuff that was inspired by his father or just the rich history of the NFL and the different coaches. I mean, he uses examples of his time coaching with the Giants or what he heard from this coach, you know, 30 years ago and that coach, you know, 15 years ago. So, yeah, you may get an opportunity like that, but I think it's many, many years down the road because I think he's still going to be coaching here for quite some time.
So what was it like, you know, we're seeing about Jordan's style of motivating and Jordan's style of pushing. Anything similar to Brady in that regard or anybody else that leaps to mind, Matt?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, if you look at Brees and Brady, I use those two all the time in terms of, you know, people, you know, what makes them great? How are they able to do what they do? They've been doing it for so long at such a high level. You know, what's unique about them? And both of them have one thing exactly in common, and that's their competitive drive. And it shows up in everything they do. If they're throwing a piece of, you know, trash in a wastebasket, they've got to compete at it. Both of them. It's uncanny how similar they are in that regard. And so everything about what they do is competitive. They want to do it better the next time than they did it this time. Even if they did it perfect this time, they really want to do it better. And so when you mix that with a very cerebral approach to how they plan each and every one of their days, their nutrition. I mean, you've seen it with Tommy. You drink enough water, you never get a sunburn. You're right. You always wear Uggs and Stetson cologne. I mean, he's got a system, right? And I love to bust his chops, but it works, and he does it really well every single day.
Are you saying he wears the same cologne? Is that what you just said, Matt? Is that what you just said?
Well, we had a lot of fun back in the day when he was doing some ads for Stetson. You know,
okay.
You know, one of the most fashion-forward people I know, and he's out there repping, you know, my great-grandfather's cologne. You know, so we actually one day I doused our center in an entire bottle that he left us in our locker, and I put it on his shoulder pads. So he obviously had no idea that I just covered him. And he didn't smell it until we had stopped walking and the wind caught up with him, at which point he was teary-eyed for most of the practice because it was extremely pungent. And Tommy could barely get under center. It was so bad.
Did he know it was you who used his personal scent on the center? Did he trace that to you, Matt?
I think he probably had a pretty good idea. I was definitely blamed for many of these shenanigans over the years.
So let me get to the $64,000 question, since you obviously stay in touch with Tom, and he's going to be doing his usual graciousness and trying to help his friends raise money for charity. Why did he leave? I get that question all the time. We're going to be until we get that Last Dance treatment, maybe a decade plus from now, we won't know. But why is he not finishing in a Patriot uniform, Matt Light?
Well, listen, to me it's really simple to understand, because I put in 11 of what he ended up surviving 20 years on, right? Bill's system is tough. There's no doubt about it. When players come from a different market and they get to New England, what they typically say at some point is, man, this is a lot different than where I came from. And they really push you, and Bill demands a lot out of you. It's not an easy place to play. That's all understood. I never had a problem with it. Tommy's never had a problem with it. But after 20 years, you start looking for ways, to enjoy the game a little bit more. And I think it truly is a function for him that, hey, I've done it the hard way a lot. I've put up with a lot. I've been asked to do a lot. I'm ready to try it my way and try it a different way. And I want that, like I told you, he loves competition. He wants that challenge. I mean, this challenge is going to bring out the best in Tom Brady. I don't know if it's going to go the way he ultimately wants it to, but I know one thing, he's going to do everything in his power to make that team a great team. And, I think he's going to have a lot of fun playing in the NFL this season.
So when you say it's just, after 20 years, and that is, I keep kind of going back and forth on this, Matt. By the way, Matt Light, 3-time Super Bowl champion with the Patriots here on the Rich Eisen Show. I go back and forth about it because, it's a damn shame that he couldn't finish in the spot where he started. And then you sit there and you hear about how the Eagles, the Eagles had their fun with the Patriots in the Super Bowl year leading up to that Super Bowl that they beat New England, and saying that we have more fun than New England. And then, I think Belichick used that against the Eagles when they beat the Eagles in the regular season, subsequently saying we had fun doing it. I go back and forth between, like, it's too damn bad that they couldn't figure out a way to have more fun, but it did last 20 years. And in the same way, I keep going back to this Last Dance. It's just so amazing how you can fit it into the daily world. That's just the way that Belichick does his business, and you can't argue with it. You can't argue with it, period. It works. It's gotten results, Yeah,
and that literally is at the very core of what happened here, right? So you can't mess with it because it is successful, because it does work, but it's not for everyone. And I would say this, that Tommy's much more in tune, and so was I, by the way. I wanted to know that if I'm going to lay it on the line and I'm going to be out there beating myself up week in and week out, I want to know that it means something. There's a lot of teams and there's a lot of players that I've talked to over the years that they knew they didn't have a chance going into a lot of their games. They knew they weren't prepared well. They knew that they didn't, necessarily, have the components that they should have went out there and got. They knew they had guys that weren't performing well, but they were, pulling the wool over the coach's eyes. They knew they weren't going to win. I would hate to show up every day and have that be the mentality. But you look at a Chris Long. When Chris Long was here for a season, Did he have success? Yes. Did he enjoy it? Absolutely not. He was in the category of, hey, you know what? Winning's great, but I don't want to go through that to win. So it's not for everybody. But, again, I think the point's really important. When you do it the way Bill asked you to do it, there's a lot of success that is had, and there's no doubt about that. But for Tommy, 20 years of doing it at a very high level, 20 years of, basically 50% of the time that he took on a season, he was going to a Super Bowl, and he won a good number of them. So, time for a change for him, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. I think this is the best year in the history of the league to study what great players and coaches do when they're tested.
Yeah, that's no doubt about it. And in that regard, and then we'll one couple more minutes with this, and then I'll let you go on with your day, and we'll remind everybody again how they can help your foundation, Matt. Is that in terms of going in a different direction after a 20-year-long relationship, Bruce Arians, I mean, my gosh, just obviously somebody who is demanding, but is a lot more, he's a different personality. Let's put it that way. And Gronk will be there, and the good times can roll again. And then, Belichick, when I asked him during the schedule release show, and he was kind enough to chime in from his Nantucket kitchen, I asked him about, what it's like to not have Brady, and he's like, you know what? We did it once with Matt Castle. We've done it before with Hoyer. Obviously they're different quarterbacks, but they have prepared for without Brady before, and we'll just do it again. And it sure looks like it's Stidham now that's going to be having his time in that spot.
Yeah, and I think they like him. I think that, there's enough familiarity. There's enough of knowns. Of course, there's a lot of unknowns because you don't know anything fully until the bullets are flying for real, and there's been time for the opponents to kind of figure out, what that kid can do and what he can't do, and that they'll be, of course, changing their game planning and tactics and all that stuff. But for now, I think that they feel really good about, what they have, but what they don't have is the ability to do the things at this time of year that they normally would be doing in the mini camps and just being around each other in the locker rooms and training and working out. So, really an interesting time to see what they do when the lights get turned back on and these teams start going back to work, and the type of things that they're going to be asking these guys to do will be really interesting, especially for a guy like Stidham, because he needs the time.
You surprised Gronk came back, Matt?
No, not at all. It was interesting. When he retired, I thought, you know what? Hey, good for you. You had an awesome run. But watching him over the last year, and he lives just down the road from me here in Foxborough, the guy's in better shape than I've seen. And he's always been in great shape. But, he has taken working out to another level. And he's got more energy than any person on earth. He's the Great Dane that's tail's always wagging. He's probably licking his nuts when you're not looking. But, he's just always happy-go-lucky, and he's been working it. So, and I knew that if Tommy was going to go somewhere else, because he was looking for, a little bit more fun too, and a different atmosphere, that he would come back. And I'm glad they were able to get it done because, again, who doesn't want to see Rob Gronkowski out there making big plays, streaking down the field? And I think they're going to ask him to do that. I think they're going to ask him to just, don't do as much in the run game. Maybe let's save this guy's, body, but let's let him stretch the field, and let's let him be that great target that 12 loves to hit on a regular basis. Well,
when you say who doesn't want to see it, Matt, you're talking about every Patriot fan. If Brady in a different uniform, if Brady in pewter, if they actually dare to go in a throwback uniform and put Brady in a popsicle uniform for just a week. Just that visual alone will be difficult for Patriots fans to unsee. As if that's not going to be difficult enough, the fact that Gronk says, you know what, I'll come back and play, as opposed to last year when they really could have used him. They really could have potentially had a much better final year for Brady. Brady might not even be gone if Gronk decided to play last year, and I understand that there's a lot of circumstances there. I think every Patriot fan will have a very difficult time seeing Gronk streaking down the field. And my Patriot friend across the way, and Chris Brockman, you're nodding your head, correct?
Very much so.
I think it's
I'm
everybody.
Giving myself a headache.
Pretty much.
Nodding my head.
Matt?
Well, I honestly, the vibe we get out here is that people understand it. They, they love both those guys, but especially Gronk. Gronk was huge in the community, huge with places like Boston Children's Hospital and all that. So I think when you have somebody that, approached, his profession and then his personal life the way he did, he's going to get a lot of love. Even though he's not in a Patriots uniform, he's going to get a lot of love, and I know one thing. I'm tired of seeing him on WWE. That stuff's got to stop.
I think it will, right? I think it's got to.
Oh yeah, it's got to, man. It's got to. That's got to be in a contract somewhere. I know you can't do any downhill skiing and all the stuff that I used to do during the off seasons, or you're not supposed to. WWE should definitely be high on that list.
Oh man, Matt, you've been sharing a lot in this conversation, and I greatly appreciate it. One more time, where can people go and help raise as much money for the Light Foundation as possible with this raffle?
Man, I appreciate it, brother. Always good to talk to you. GameDayTampa.com. GameDayTampa.com. All expense paid trip, man. We're going to have an awesome weekend. That's November 8th. And to your point you made earlier, they're going to be playing in the season opener. And then by this November 8th game, if you win and we take it down there, I think it's going to be a heck of a game. And there'll probably be a lot on the line. Who knows how it's all going to shake out. But it'll be fun to watch Brees and Brady go head-to-head Tampa, and then meet and greet with those guys afterwards. So if you love football, here's an awesome opportunity. Spend $10, spend $50, and you get entered into a secondary prize, which is not a bad one either. It's sweet tickets for Gillette's season opener. So awesome raffle. All the proceeds will benefit the Light Foundation, our Leadership Academy, and the work we do with kids in the outdoors.
Brees, Brady, Gronk, all stot. And you help out the Light Foundation. That's a win, man. GameDayTampa.com. Love you, Matt Light. It's been too long. And anytime I can ever, you call anytime, hey, I got a raffle, I got something going on. You always have the floor here. You were always great to me when you were, winning championships and I was getting started at NFL Network. And then with my podcast, you've always been available. So I'm always available for you. You know that.
Well, I appreciate you, brother. You're one of my favorites.
Thanks.
And I every time I think about the Combine, I just see you streaking down the field. People don't understand what a great athlete you are, and
Thanks.
I hope that we can bring that to light down the road a little bit.
Well, Matt, us Michigan men at the Combine, we're overlooked.
That's it. That's enough. Just leave it at that.
We're overlooked. We're overlooked at the Combine, but we have a heart that beats inside that you can't teach. You just either wake up with it or you don't. But you knew that already with us Michigan men.
That's right. You're just like an ultimate seventh rounder. Just loving life, making it happen.
Sixth, 199th overall. I'm going to keep comparing myself to the other Michigan men. Late sixth. I'm a late sixth.
Round. That's right.
I'm a late sixth.
Okay.
Take care of yourself, Matt.
Seventh is for the other Michigan guys. But no, God love you, brother. Always good to talk to you.
Right back at you. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. That's Matt Light.